Now that we got that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Danny Show. I'm your host, Daniel Cody. This is where I give commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. And as you can tell by the intro, today is the day of the architect, the visionary, the revolutionary, Seth freakin Rollins. Now, I hope WWE keeps Seth Rollins forever because it would be a big loss if he ever went to AEW. But I will say this on a humorous note. If he ever went to AEW, it wouldn't be Seth freaking Rollins. It would be Seth. It would be Seth. Write it up. I gotta write it down. Seth. The color of the pen that I hold in my hand is. Write it. Yeah, there it is. It's. Now, I will say this for humor off topic. If you've seen the movie Liar Liar, you know what I'm alluding to. But let me give you guys a funny thought. Can you imagine if Samuel L. Jackson were to do a movie and in the script his son would wish that for one day Samuel L. Jackson couldn't curse? That would be funny. But let's get down to business here, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the day of the architect Seth freaking Rollins, because in other places it will probably be something else. But either way, let's get started. At number 10, we obviously have to start with Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 38. Even though it was a losing effort for Seth Rollins, it was still a great match. The question is, will he be able to defeat Cody Rhodes in the third go-around? Now, this rivalry reminds me a lot of Triple H and Batista because their third match happened inside Hell in a Cell, ironically, fun fact, and it was a clean sweep by Batista until WrestleMania 35 happened. You wanted it, Batista. You spat on the microphone asking for it, and Triple H gave it to you, and it ended up being Triple H's redemption. But either way, great match for Seth Rollins, and I think Hell in a Cell is going to steal the show also. At number 9, we have Seth Rollins versus the Icon Sting at Night of Champions. Was it that Night of Champions 2015? Now, this was the second match because he had previously lost the U.S. Championship to John Cena. His second match, not so much. He faced off, first off, let's pause on the fact that he faced off against the Icon, the legendary Sting, and was victorious. Now, there was a part near the middle or third quarter of that match where Sting suffered an injury, but he was able to continue the match and put on a great showing, even diving off the top rope onto the floor. I am amazed that somebody at 60 years old is able to do things that Ric Flair wouldn't do. And speaking of elders and legends, I don't know if I'm ready to see Ric Flair. Hulk Hogan said he wanted to come out of retirement, and rumor has it that him and Ric Flair were going to go out. But it's just a rumor because let's face it, y'all too old to be fighting. I'd rather watch Sting and The Undertaker fight. They have a better chance of putting on a show. And I will never forgive WWE for never giving us Sting versus Undertaker. But either way, Sting versus Seth Rollins was an amazing match. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I would say it was one of the best, but the fact that they put out their best moves against each other, the Future and the Legend, I really enjoyed that. However, next on the list at number 8, we have Seth Rollins teaming up with his wife, Becky Lynch, before the haircut, versus Lacey Evans and the big bald wolf, Corbin, who is going to get his butt kicked next week by Madcap. Great match, great extreme match. It's not often that you get to see couples team up together, but we saw it this time with Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Also, now I got to propose a dream match. I would have loved to see Stephanie and Triple H face off against Becky and Seth Rollins. Would have been great to watch. But for now, we'll have to go with this one. And the big bald wolf found out the hard way you don't put your hands on another man's woman because he got the heck beat out of him with a bunch of sticks afterwards. However, even though Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins won the match because Seth Rollins destroyed the big bald wolf for going after Becky, Brock Lesnar, unfortunately for Seth, cashed in immediately afterwards. At number 7, we have Seth Rollins versus John Cena at SummerSlam 2015. This was one of those winner take all situations that saw Seth Rollins defending his WWE Championship with John Cena being the US Champion. Now, thanks to a particular celebrity who was supposed to be against Seth Rollins, he was supposed to attack Seth, but ended up going after Cena, and the fans loved it. And the irony of this was that Seth was heel, Cena was face, and for whatever reason, the fans were completely on Seth Rollins' side. So, with help from Jon Stewart, Seth Rollins was able to defeat John Cena, retaining his WWE Championship and winning the US Championship from the franchise player. Going to number 6, we have Seth Rollins in a triple threat match versus Finn Balor and The Miz at WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans, Louisiana. Opening. Now, even though this was an opening match for WrestleMania, it was an amazing opening match. 3 former world champions going at it, squaring off. Great match, nothing more to say. And, of course, an honorary mention is Seth Rollins versus The Miz at the following event, Backlash. This WrestleMania would be the event where Seth Rollins had a cool look, by the way, and would win the Intercontinental Championship from then champion The Miz, and would defend it in a rematch clause for The Miz at Backlash. Going forward at number 5, we have Seth Rollins, and I actually covered this, Seth Rollins versus Edge on an episode of SmackDown from Madison Square Garden. This took place on the date of September the 10th of last year in New York City. And be it though crooked measures, Seth Rollins was able to defeat Edge and get himself a win in his rivalry with the original Edge himself, proving that Seth Rollins is not Edge light. However, the rivalry was settled at Crown Jewel inside Hell in a Cell, ironically, the event we're coming up on, because Seth Rollins could not leave well enough alone and had to go to Edge's house. And I think we can blame Seth for the fact that Edge is the way he is now. Well, he's always been that way. What's in a man's heart will come out. But great match for SmackDown. Unfortunately, Edge was stretchered out of the arena, but it didn't stop the match itself from being good. At number 4, we have Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank 2016. One of the things, let me tell you, great match on both sides. Both men did well. And like SummerSlam, this was one of the matches where the heel was the fan favorite and the babyface was getting booed. Ironically, here's another fun fact. This Money in the Bank match happened in 2016 in Las Vegas, the same location that this year's Las Vegas will be. Irony, irony, irony. Either way, great match. I especially love the part where Roman Reigns went for a spear and was countered by a pedigree. That pedigree didn't keep Roman Reigns down. It was the second pedigree that would helped Seth Rollins win back the WE Championship that he never lost, only to have it taken away from Jon Moxley, at the time known as Dean Ambrose. At number 3, we have Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam 2019. My apologies. Now, as I mentioned earlier, oh, by the way, I actually covered this event, so if you would like, be sure to check out my review from the past on SummerSlam 2019. Either way, Seth Rollins, this was a rematch for what happened, as I mentioned, after Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins defeated the Big Bald Wolf and Lacey Evans. Brock Lesnar had cashed in, and Seth Rollins was looking to get a rematch, and he got his rematch. Injured ribs and all, it didn't stop Seth from putting on a performance, overcoming all the F5s and escaping Suplex City to do a frog splash onto Brock Lesnar through the announce table, one of the highlights of that match. And of course, he wasn't able, to my memory, to pedigree Brock Lesnar, but he was able to go for a bunch of curve stomps like he did at WrestleMania to tame the Beast and prove once again why he is the Beast Slayer. And with the exception of Trish Stratus losing in her hometown, I think SummerSlam 2019 was a pretty good SummerSlam year. Check it out. Also, at number 2, we have a match that took place earlier that year in 2019 and was also great. Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles. Let me just say, I see why WWE added Money in the Bank and made it the Big Five. Now, we all know that the top 4 events originally were WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, and the Survivor Series. But Money in the Bank has been added to that, making it the Big Five, one of the Big Five events of the year. And we have a lot of great pay-per-views, but those are one of the Big Fives. Big Fives. And the match, let me tell you, this match at Money in the Bank proves why it was Big Five. 5 stars in my personal opinion. AJ Styles got drafted to Raw, and let me tell you, just awesome. All I can say was awesome. It was a dream match. It was a WrestleMania worthy match, but it happened at Money in the Bank. And Seth Rollins retained the WWE Championship, defeating AJ Styles. Watch that match, man. It was awesome. At number 1, we have Seth Rollins becoming the Kingslayer when he defeated Triple H at WrestleMania 33. This match happened despite Seth Rollins having a fever and despite him having an injured leg. He put all of that aside to defeat the Game, Triple H. This all started when Triple H, who was his coach and his mentor, turned on him and helped Kevin Owens win the championship on an episode of Raw 2016, back when Raw and SmackDown had once again split again into 2 separate brands, which I think AEW should do with Dynamite and Rampage. However, the build-up was great. Seth Rollins got injured, but he came back, and despite having all that pain, we saw him do some amazing things at WrestleMania. We saw him do that power bomb, and we saw him do that sunset flip that started the whole troubles in the first place with that live event with Kane. However, we saw him do the power bomb into the turnbuckle. We saw him do that amazing Rolling Thunder like 450 mix splash on the Triple H, as well as an Eddie Guerrero like frog splash. But after accidentally pushing his wife through a table, Seth Rollins capitalized with a pedigree of his own to defeat the Game, Triple H, becoming the Kingslayer and taking the torch. So, what do you think about this list? Do you agree with it? What was your favorite Seth Rollins match? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm your host, Daniel Cody. That's all the time I have for you today, and I'll be back with another review on all things wrestling. Peace.